Welcome back to Act Local. Marine debris. Ever heard of it? Well, you're about to fucking hate it. Trust me. I caught up with Bernadette Davis, aka Flea. Yes, like the bassist from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And whilst I'm on the subject, very cool side story.
He's got a house down here too, Flea.
Bullshit. Ever met him?
I did.
No, I wasn't.
I was just at, a hardware store and he happened to be with a couple of guys that were doing work and I knew the chippies and the painters and stuff. And
that's crazy.
They're like, oh, Flea, this is Flea.
The Flea we care about in this episode, though, has found an epic way to repurpose marine debris into beautiful works of art. But that's not all. She's heavily involved in the efforts of removing marine debris entirely. So, let's start at the start. Marine debris. Why does it suck so much?
It's an unnatural thing that's making its way to our oceans. Our biggest issue is plastic. So, we've just loved it to death, unfortunately. Plastic's a really cool medium, but we've just treated it as a disposable commodity when we should have actually given it a bit more respect and not produced it and produced it and produced it. So naturally in the last sort of 60 years, it's made its way to the oceans via stormwater and fishing industry and all of that sort of stuff. Not a good thing for our oceans. One, ingestion for all of our creatures and entanglement. It breaks up into smaller and smaller pieces, becomes part of every part of the water column. Like we have it in our blood.
Getting to the ocean, is it literally people just littering? Is it landfill going in? Where are they actually coming from to land in the ocean?
It's litter.
It is.
It's litter and it's carelessness in all levels of business. If you get out of your gorgeous mobile out there.
I don't know about that. She hasn't seen it, audience.
If you get out at any, supermarket, shopping centre, you open your door, you're going to see plastic and cups whatever you see anywhere on hard surfaces, especially in those sort of car park, CBD kind of areas. The next rain event that you have, like a big storm, straight into storm water and straight to the ocean, unless the local government is working to prevent that from happening.
How do they prevent it?
In CBDs and industrial areas, there's these super big engineered things called gross pollutant traps. The stormwater before it goes into a waterway will go into a gross pollutant trap. And in some places, that's not possible to do. So here in the Eurobodalla, I worked for local government in Environment Ed and around marine debris for 25 years. And we also have put in place where we haven't been able to put in gross pollutant traps, we've put in things called drain buddies. So looking at what marine debris we might get, say, in the Clyde River and working out exactly what those items are. By every cleanup that we do across the Eurobodalla, we include all the information that we collect. So every piece that we pick up, we log onto the Australian Marine Debris Initiatives database.
All right, pause here. There's a few things to that database that will keep getting referred to throughout this episode. So as to not overload you with information because you're too poor to pay attention, here's a 411. In 2004, scuba diving instructor Heidi Tate was fed up with the amount of plastics and other foreign waste she was finding in our oceans. So she gave life to the Tangaroa Blue Foundation as a way of not only removing the ever-increasing loads of rubbish in the sea, but more importantly, to explore ways that prevent marine debris from being released into the deep blue in the first place. For example,
strapping band tape. When you see big boxes and it's that plastic sealed tape.
Yeah, I hate that tape anyway, yeah.
Strapping band tape, as they eventually discovered, was part of the lobster fishing industry. You're out at sea and it's windy and you cut it. The fishermen don't want it to fall overboard. That packaging was changed to glue-sealed wax boxes.
Wow.
So that was kind of like one of their first wins way back.
Yeah. It's pretty good stuff, right? The Tangaroa Blue Foundation is also home to what Flea mentioned before.
Australian Marine Debris Initiatives database.
Which is the best way to track what types of shitty debris are constantly rocking up in our marine environments. Then we can stop them at the source, as opposed to just removing them through cleanups. Why is it the best way? Because everyone can use it.
It's great to go out and clean up your beach and you do feel better about it. If all we do is clean up, that's all we're ever going to do. It's the largest database in the Southern Hemisphere and it's used by all levels of government and researchers to look at what we actually are capturing as far as marine debris goes. Like the container deposit scheme, like banning all the single-use plastic items, that information has come directly from all the volunteers participating and adding their data to the Australian database.
Like you're saying, beach cleanups are great, but that's 9 steps down. You could have,
Stop it at the source.
That's right. Let's go. Let's find and collect this data. Come back and say, actually, no. Let's change what you're doing because we can see here's the data.
In my personal opinion, I think many countries, and Australia included, have been hoodwinked a bit to think that recycling is the answer because it's not. Because we keep just producing this virgin plastic always. And they put the onus on the consumer to do the right thing. And so then we all get this guilt for we're not recycling properly and we're not doing all this stuff or we're not buying the right product or how it's packaging. When in reality, it's the producer and it's the manufacturer who's packaging it in 4 lots of...
Well, let's change the thing and we won't have to have the owner.
Yeah, we should be able to just compost it, mate. Really.
You're looking at a man that just exploded his brain beal. It makes so much sense. Stop it at the source before it even has a chance to make it to our oceans. Obviously, despite all of these efforts, there's still a shitload of debris that finds its way into the sea. But as mentioned earlier, Flea has found an epic way of repurposing these uninvited guests into beautiful works of art. We're in a studio right now. We are. Castaway Textiles. Let's obviously, from all the information you've just given us, use that to tell me what Castaway Textiles is.
I've been like a textile tinkerer since I was a wee young girl. Just kind of evolved into this amazing resource, which is discarded marine ropes. And I discovered that if I started pulling them apart and I could make things out of them. I've always loved ropes. My grandfather was a commercial fisherman and grew up watching him make nets. Pull them all apart, wash them, get rid of all the barnacles and all the smells and all the things and all the sand. Yeah, it's a bit of a process. This is just like 2 big strands, if you can imagine. This is 10 metres long and this is 2 of, if you can imagine, another 8 times this, and so they were all wrapped into a big rope. You can see how degraded it is, so that was all just shedding off into the ocean. I imagine it was in the ocean for a very long time because it's got microfibers all over the place. Took 5 of us and carrying it, because it was full of sand then, so it was big rope, and we just shouldered it and carried it off. So this is sort of what is left inside. Because it's 10 metres long, you can't just pull one of these out. It's a whole rope wrangling kind of situation. All of these guys here, these are all the single strands rolled up from that big 10 metre rope. And then these cute little guys over here are the finished product. The binding on this one is, so this is the waste that would have gone to landfill from, there's not enough left on the spool, and so they would just chuck that. Just crazy, crazy strong. My scissors don't even like cutting it. Really? Like a basket like this, it's pure plastic. I guarantee it for 500 years. So I like to think that I'm making, like family heirlooms, because some of them I use cotton on the outsides, which I get from op shops and stuff.
Everything's not then 100% marine debris. There's a little bit of, I'm not trying to call you out or anything in that way.
That's
hang
fine.
on, you said it's all marine debris.
No. So these are kind of like the stash of that I get from op shops and...
Still all recycled.
Yeah, I don't buy anything new except the electrics, because you have to. I have a beautiful local Sparky that does all that for me. By making like beautiful items out of the rope, it's just given me an opportunity to talk about the same issues around the ocean to a completely different audience. Yes. I mean, anyone can go to a, dare I say, Bunnings or, a lighting store and buy a lampshade that was probably made in China, and who knows what the people paid or whatever. But you can also just buy something that was literally going to go to the landfill or just stay on our beaches and break up into smaller and smaller pieces. You're sort of part of that solution. Like I always say to people, every light shade or bowl or item I make has a story. Like I've got its story where I brought it home and carried it and all that sort of stuff. But prior to that rope probably traveled the world. Like it was tying up on wharfs all over the place.
For anyone that wants to get involved with, the removal of marine debris or anything that you guys are up to, or what would you say?
I suppose for anyone, because it's pretty daunting, from climate change to pollution, marine plastics. People can get pretty overwhelmed and feel helpless. I just kind of say to people, you know, you can't do everything, but every little bit helps. So, you know, just get out and do what you can, and just having a conversation with someone can change their behaviour. So that's a really important one to, especially for young people, for children, and, you know, if you're parents and you've got little kids, let them feel like they're making a difference. It's really important because there's so many issues out there, you can get really depressed by it. So yeah, I think that's a really important one to keep in mind, you know, you can't do everything. So.
Put it there. I loved it. Flea's an inspiring talent. Not only are her works of art bloody beautiful, but her, along with Tangaroa Blue's efforts in stopping marine debris, is super important. Make sure you jump on the Australian Marine Debris Initiative's database and log every single piece of marine debris you encounter. That's an order. And if you know another legend doing amazing things to protect our natural world, make sure you comment them down below so I can catch up with them. Peace.